Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the New Mainstream podcast,
where we explore the impact of multicultural consumers on marketing and media.
I'm your host, Mario Carrasco, and co-founder of Think Now. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the New Mainstream podcast, where we explore how culture, identity, and lived experience are shaping the future of work, marketing, and leadership. Super excited for today's guest, who brings a truly unique perspective. Ari Friedman is a U.S. Navy veteran and a people leader at Microsoft and Gaming. Incredible journey across Twitch, Amazon, Activision Blizzard, and now Microsoft and Gaming. Ari's been at the intersection of culture, technology, community building all throughout his career, and we're going to be diving in his transition from service to strategy, work building communities like veterans and gaming, and the lessons he's learned about creating belonging in some of the world's biggest tech and entertainment companies. Welcome, Ari.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here. Appreciate the ability to share my story with others and hopefully make an impact to the greater audience.
For sure. Yeah, I really enjoyed our initial conversation. So I'm excited to dive in. And we always start the show with career journeys. I think out of everyone, you have one of the most interesting, serving in the U.S. Navy, now leading people and strategy at Microsoft and Gaming, navigating what I feel like is two very different worlds. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey and then how that all unfolded?
Absolutely. Just to add even more layers to it, I was already at the Walt Disney Company, and then I decided I'm going to join the Navy Reserve. So,
Oh, wow.
just to clarify, I've been a career Navy reservist, just got out after 11 years of serving now. And so I wanted to leverage my experience on the civilian side to always be helping transitioning service members, their families as well. I think we often forget about the military spouses that also make that same sacrifice, and their families at large. And so I was very fortunate as my civilian career was growing to then leverage my military community to kind of harmonize both. Now, for those that are very familiar with the Navy rating, I was a machinist mate by trade, but really I was a command career counselor the entire time, really supporting our snipers, as we call ourselves in the engine room, and making sure that our folks are taken care of in service as well as transitioning out. And as leadership styles, they're both very different, right? Civilian sector to the public sector, especially in the military. But there's also a lot of synergies there. In the end, any company has a mission, has a goal and objective. How are we going to achieve that within the parameters of the company's policies, procedures, and structure? And where can you influence change to make it better? And that's what I've been very fortunate to do, and then translate the skills both ways, right? As much as I'm educating our veterans and military spouses, I'm also educating our civilian employers. They don't understand all the rates and ranks, just like every company has their own job titles and descriptions. And so we have to meet in the middle to be able to get to the common goal of being able to hire the best talent. And there's amazing talent that's coming out of the US military.
Yeah, and I can, so we've done some work with the U.S. Army, um, and I really kind of went through a crash course learning about all the positions that are available. Right, I think as a civilian who wasn't necessarily exposed to the armed forces, you have a very narrow view of what that means, right? Especially the Army, and I was really just blown away with the variety of jobs. Even there's marketing and insights people in the Army, right? There's this whole, you know, advertising kind of agency structure in there. Obviously, intelligence, computers, mechanics, so many things outside of just combat that I think even as a founder, as an employer, really opened my eyes to the immense talent pool that I think many people are overlooking when we think about veterans.
100% accurate. As any company, you have, your PR folks, you have your HR folks, you have your engineers, you have your early in career, right? So in the military, that's often those folks fresh out of high school. Early career on the civilian side are folks fresh out of college or some type of trade school or something of that nature. And how do you appropriately develop them to buy into that company culture to succeed? And for every job in any military branch, there is a job equivalent on the civilian side. And it's just being able to appropriately translate those skills, as just like any company has their own version of certifications, the military does as well. And so it's being able to appropriately explain, okay, I'm downrange on a mission in a high stress environment is very similar. Thankfully, not life and death, though, on the civilian side of, okay, I'm building a project, I have a scope, I have to accomplish something that's time bound, high stress, working with multiple people in teams environment, getting stakeholder buy-in. And it's just that quick translation there that then sets apart to set everyone up to speak the same language. And that's all we're trying to do here. And in general, HR can feel very difficult, especially now with trying to apply to jobs, getting your perfect resume to get viewed by that recruiter. It's the same thing in the military. You know, when you sign up, it's okay, what job do I want? It's infinite. And it's being able to find that. The biggest benefit now when you're out of service is you actually get to do what you enjoy doing a little bit more. You really get to find your own passion. And now the mission is a little bit more self serving. You're still giving back. We still want to do that. But now, what do I, Ari, want to do? What do you, Mario, want to do? Or whoever is listening to this, what do you want to do now that you're transitioning or have transitioned out of the military? What do I actually want to do? We don't want to take away your military identity, but there's more to you than just that uniform that you're wearing. And now you get to really let that shine. And that is why often veterans and their spouses, in the studies I've done and the data reports I've done at the various companies mentioned and others, continually outperform their peers. 10 out of 10 times. They will always outperform, outpromote, outwork for right reasons, but also they're great leaders because they're not going to be selfish and they're going to make sure that the entire team is able to learn with them and grow with them too. Because especially in the military, it is one of the most high stressful but team focused. The old I have your six, right? I got to have your back. Same thing in the civilian side now is we're going to make sure the people around us are taken care of. They're bought in, they understand the task at hand, they'll have the resources to complete whatever project or objective, or in the military terms, mission we're trying to accomplish.
I was just going to ask you about your leadership style, and it seems like you answered that question already, right? How has the military values shaped your leadership style? You know, you've said explicitly, it sounds like your leadership style is bringing everyone with you. And, you know, unfortunately, that's not the leadership styles of many organizations. In fact, we see studies that are the opposite. We see many times people promoted that are self-serving. Um, how do you combat that as someone with that kind of bring your team along style going into large corporations where that maybe necessarily isn't always rewarded?
Absolutely. I'm very fortunate in the program I did post military at USC, the Masters of Business for Veterans program. And there was a gentleman there, Philip Folsom. He's an anthropologist. He's also a former Army veteran as well. And he really teaches this really cool philosophy and really dives into how, as a society, we are very need to focus instead of being focusing on ourselves, we need to focus on the greater we. So we need to go from a pride based society to an honor based society. And when we focus on that, we can support each other. We have to, of course, take care of ourselves, take care of our family, right? Make sure that's taken care of first and foremost. You know, hierarchy of needs, right? The basic necessity. But when then it comes down to work, how am I going to work with these people? And what you have to first do, it's very simple, is setting a mission statement, a vision statement, and a why statement. And once that's set up, you can then bring alignment. So everyone's bought in. Do we agree on this? And you get the team involved. And you know, you set it maybe every fiscal year, every calendar year, And you have to revisit that every year. The world is changing even faster than before due to technology, which is amazing. And we have to adapt our values, our mission, and our vision slightly to accommodate and adjust to what's going on around us, making sure there's alignment, which then brings kinship. And that then brings the ability to have strong, vulnerable conversations where Mario, you and I can sit down. We can have a really tough conversation, but I know at the end of the day, we can shake hands, give a hug, and we're going to get the work done. I need to, as a leader, make sure you're supported mentally and physically and feel safe just as much as you need to know as if I'm your leader. I am also doing the same, vice versa. And then from there, you're going to have a building of a winning and successful team year in and year out. And I love sports. It's the same thing Bill Walsh did with UCLA, the Lakers back in the day, right? With the triangle offense and everything and so forth. You see these teams that are bought in across the board in all industries and facets. But you have to get down to that beginning of that triangle foundation. And once you have that, that's how you make that happen. So you have to make sure people are bought in, basically.
I love that. And you mentioned earlier a study. I don't know. Sounds like you've done multiple studies on veterans in the workforce. Can you share some highlights there? Because we have a lot of data and insights people that I think would love to dig into some of that.
Yeah. So one of the biggest personal motivators here is a sad stat where unfortunately many veterans do take their life for various reasons. But the number one factor is actually due to unemployment. And so, first and foremost, if I'm going to get this veteran a job, I know I'm impacting that statistic alone to start, which I would hope any employer would get on board with, right? Just that human kindness, right? And support. But then it goes beyond, you know, and again, nothing knocking on this in any way, but a greeter position at Walmart or Lowe's and being able to then actually hire on folks with their skill set. So, for example, when I was at Amazon Web Services building out and leading their military hiring strategies, and this is also during COVID, so a lot of tech companies were hiring. I was able to place over within a 4 month period over 150 veterans and military spouses, but they're all getting paid six figures plus. And that's the impact. So they're getting their true value. They're getting upskilled appropriately through an amazing tech company where they know I'm going to get the skills I need with a job on the back end where I'm going to feel valued. And that's the true impact. And then from there, internally, we had our dashboards, and it showed again, like I mentioned earlier, these folks are outperforming their peers. They're quickly to promote, they're quickly to lead, they're quickly to impact a positive change and work through that really big ambiguity that happens, especially in the tech sector, right? It's always constant change. They're on the cutting edge. How do I able to compartmentalize appropriately to take these tasks at hand and then bring their teams together? Furthermore, there are great nonprofits out there as well that do amazing studies on this that I personally worked with. Some that come to mind quickly is Onward to Opportunity. They work with Syracuse University through the Institute of Veteran Military Families. And they have constant yearly studies that are free, which is amazing. So you don't have to pay to get access to this data, which I love. I don't like that paywall blocker, right? We want to help encourage employers. And then also, even now, within Microsoft at Gaming at Activision Blizzard, we have a whole nonprofit arm called the Call of Duty Endowment, where it is a nonprofit arm focused on getting veterans into the gaming industry as a whole, not just to ABK or Xbox and gaming or Microsoft and gaming, but anywhere in the gaming industry. We have a playbook that teaches employers how to do this with the data to back it up and how to build winning and successful programs so you win as an employer and your employees win as well. And it's not just about them, it's also educating the hiring managers, the recruiters, the onboarding team, right? Just like anyone that onboards, you need a little adjustments. There's no one size fits all. And then in addition to that, as mentioned earlier, which I appreciate, is that I'm involved with the veterans in gaming community within Microsoft. And so our focus is making sure whether you identify as a veteran, a spouse, an ally, or an advocate, that you are seen and heard in the organization. And when you have those type of communities built, and not just for veterans, but for people of color, the LGBTQ plus community, the women's, and so forth. Even when I was at Twitch, we had a community for families. So whether you're a single parent, adoption, heterosexual, or other family setups, there was a community for you for support. And that's how you do that. And that's how you, again, build those successful teams and show it. Because it's one thing to say, oh, we support our military. We can put a flag up on July 4th, right? We can donate to a charity. But where's the action? And that's what counts the most.
Yeah, I think one of the things that resonated with me most about your work is that veterans and gaming community. I love that. Um, can you tell us a little bit more about you alluded a little bit about the mission behind it and maybe the impact that you've seen in having a community like this? The what are some of the what are some of the benefits that you're seeing and the veterans that you're hiring?
Absolutely. So, first and foremost, when you apply, if you identify and choose to disclose voluntarily that you're a veteran status, and then you can opt in to meet with someone in the veteran and gaming community, even during your interview process. So we start it even when you're an applicant, before you're even an employee with us, to say, hey, do you want to talk to someone that you can have a more real conversation with, when just a recruiter or hiring manager, right? Get rid of that corporate lingo and say, hey, let's sit down and have a conversation, veteran to veteran or community to community, whatever you're involved with. And not just our community, it's all the communities that we have do that. And then from there, we do some key events. So first and foremost, we have a monthly coffee chat where we could take a month out of work. We're a global company, so it's virtual. We get on our Microsoft Teams calls. And we just chat about whatever, not work. We don't want it to be about work. It's how are you doing? How are things going? Personal achievements. I'm struggling with this. A few months ago, we had a great internal talk on IT safety as a military family, right? And now you have kids growing up. We have a veteran on our cybersecurity side talked about the benefits and how to manage a child growing up in technology's world today. We're very fortunate. We're connected to some folks, especially through the VME, the Veterans and Multimedia Entertainment. We host them every year and bring folks in to help bring things in. So you're getting involved back to the community. Also internally, we're very proud. We do two big events. We do one event around November where we work with the USO and we help out build care packages for folks that aren't going to be home for the holidays. And for awareness for folks, it's amazing what not just Microsoft and Xbox does, but PlayStation and Nintendo does this too, is every holiday they send out gaming kits to folks who aren't going to be home. And gaming is a great way for veterans and people to connect because of games like ours, like Call of Duty, Halo, and many others, Gears. And there's just in general, the gaming community brings folks together with limited barrier. So now we're adding these additional kits. We also take a day in May during Military Appreciation Month. We go out in our community, we volunteer. So the company recognizes the importance and says, hey, let's go give back. Last year, we got to work with being based in Los Angeles, the VA large hospital there. We did a barbecue and did some cleanup for them. And there's all these activations that happen across the board. We're always bringing in folks, mentoring in different ways. But internally, specifically, it's making sure that we have these big events and others that we do to bring the community together, but also bring awareness to others who aren't familiar. So there's two sides to that. There's I can talk to veterans all day. That's easy. But how do I get someone that doesn't understand, right? You were talking earlier with the Army background. People look at the movies. The movies are wonderful, but often they think, oh, you're just someone that can shoot a gun and run straight, right? And be told what to do and say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. But there's a lot more to that. And it's breaking through those unconscious biases that we have as a human being. And I never fault someone for that because you're a human being. You're going to have an unconscious bias. Studies show you're operating with a 99.99 infinite, unconscious bias in everything that we do and way we live. So it's being able to recognize those, call out those microaggressions, right? But that all leads back to what I said earlier in building that foundation and alignment within your teams, within the organization, to allow those conversations to happen so we can all learn and grow.
Yeah, I love that. I love the approach, even from the interview stage, right? They may or may not make it into your organization, but out the gate, you're already making them feel comfortable. They're seen. Um, and the events showing through action that you really care about this community. It makes me think of, let's say smaller to mid-sized organizations. I think some of those things are a little bit difficult. Some of those things are easy to do, like the virtual coffee. If you talking to maybe the mid to smaller size companies that are listening in because they want to do something to support veterans, what's some advice that you give? Where do you start for someone that's just interested and wants to get something going for veterans?
Absolutely. I think it's one is if you're not a veteran, find someone in the company to be that voice, but then make sure when you're building out this community or stand up team that there's someone at like the executive level that's bought in, and make sure if you're going to do at least two executives or leads of that organization, one of them is not a veteran. You want an ally and advocate, someone that has knows nothing about it to bring awareness to them so they can spread the message. Something simple, regardless of size of company, is many veterans have a healthcare provider called TRICARE. And what you can do, and honestly, the first time I saw it was at Amazon, I thought it was amazing, is when you're going up for benefits enrollment, there's a side-by-side comparison on what does TRICARE offer for you in the different levels versus the employer from a benefits perspective. So you can select the best benefits for you and making sure that you're compliant with any state and federal regulations that happens in that area, but also know that. Furthermore, very simple, we also do it here and many companies do it. We have the VA come in once a year just to refresh the current veterans, but others to bring awareness of all the benefits that you have earned from serving and making sure that that awareness is spread out. Lastly, there are local, not just the VA, but there's VFWs, there's many local community organizations, so very small, that you can help and reach out to and connect with. When it comes to an employment, three that come to mind off the bat, actually, and there's very low barrier to entry if you want to give back and really connect, is Hiring Our Heroes USA. We also have Hire Our Heroes and 50 Strong. I am not affiliated with them in any way. I just volunteer my time and do what I can. Further to that, there are other organizations you can reach out to, like, for example, the Honor Foundation, which focus strictly on veterans that come from special forces. So they need a little bit of different support. And I do mock interviews there every quarter. And it's amazing the stories you're going to hear and to support these folks. And that's a low hanging fruit that even a smaller mid-sized company can get involved in across the way. Every December, the Marine Corps is doing a toy drive. They're all over you see them everywhere out in the different malls and places. They're very easy to connect with. Any military base or installation nearby would love to connect with you. They have a whole committee of folks that want to get involved in the community. In the military, you're always wearing the uniform, just like you're wearing your employer badge or something, right? You're representing the company. The military wants that. They have a whole PR team dedicated to that. The services are there. All I do is ask, and they'll give you a list of what you can get involved in with very minimal barrier, which is amazing. And then lastly, it's what's your business mission, right? You want to bring in the best talent. Military's got a lot of it. And there are many organizations out there too that can help you get attention of that talent appropriately. From student veterans like 50 Strong, I mentioned, there's an MBA conference for veterans as well. So it's all from low entry or early career all the way to the executive search is available to you.
I love that advice because you're talking about things that, I mean, for smaller organizations don't really represent a monetary investment. I mean, things as simple as do a little bit of research on what benefits your veterans already have and show them what they get and don't. Reach out to there's, like you mentioned, there's tons of resources out there already that you could just make your veterans aware of. I mean, that's fantastic. And it sounds like a lot of these nonprofits, VA, they're there to help you. So go ask them questions.
They have everything for you. They adapt it to your company. They have a project person, a PM basically dedicated to help you. So it's not like you have to even build out a full team. You just more need a point of contact, right? And so it's very, very easy to do that. I also know Deloitte does teachings for companies at no cost to teach other employers, hey, the same thing, very similar to what we do at ABK. So there are even the consulting side that a lot of small businesses and medium sized like to lean into that have those services for free, or a low cost barrier too. There are, yeah, there's just many places I would encourage folks to reach out. A quick Google search, to find these resources, and it's gonna go a long way. A little bit goes a long way, and it's to your point earlier, Mario. It's the time, and that's all it's going to take is just a little bit of time.
And we'll make sure to link some of those that you mentioned here in the podcast. So thanks for mentioning those. Um, I want to take a little bit of focus to talk about you. I mean, you've worked at some really impressive companies, like companies that some of the biggest companies that shape our culture. I mean, Twitch, Amazon, Activision, now Microsoft and gaming. Like broadly, what are some leadership lessons that you've learned working at some of the biggest organizations in the world?
Yeah, and I wasn't mentioned on there, but it's okay. Also Disney. So I started at the
Disney,
Walt Disney
right,
for my
right.
big career, right? Like another, I've been very fortunate. The number one thing I'd say is no matter what, your network is your net worth. And so, as a veteran that's listening to this, you have one of the biggest, largest, the most diverse network of all time is being a service member. If I see a LinkedIn request and I see that they're from the military in any capacity, I'm going to accept it right away. If they message me, I'm going to schedule a quick 15, 30-minute call just because I know, okay, we have this commonality in being in service. And that's first and foremost, right there alone. But I was very fortunate with these jobs is through my network. So, for example, when I moved from Disney to Amazon, it was during COVID, things were happening. I was talking with someone at Amazon for about 6, 8 months, just networking in general. How can we potentially have a partnership in helping hire veterans across the board? Because one of Disney's customers was Amazon Web Services. So I was like, let's join forces. A job opened up on his team. It was a dream job of mine at the time. Within a month, I got the job. I was qualified, but it was my network that did that. Previous, I'll say too, even prior to the military, when I started at the Walt Disney Company, I went in their entry level college program. And I went from that to corporate HR and moved back home to California, starting with the company in Orlando, Florida in under 5 years because my work ethic was there. I did the job I was supposed to and more. And I was put in a position where people can trust me with my leadership skills to go on. The military only amplified it more. It taught me some of those more disciplined skills I didn't get outside the military that others can definitely get. I'm not saying you only need to get that from the military by any means, but people are like, oh, we know Ari. Ari's done this. We can trust him, and building that trust through your work. It doesn't matter how many hours a day you work, especially if you're hourly, get your 40 in. But if you're salaried, working 50 to 60 hours isn't going to prove anything. It's the quality and delivering the quality of work on time or ahead of time is what matters. And that speaks the most volume because often I see folks, especially in the military, they get stuck in, oh, I was working 12-hour days. Why doesn't my manager see that? I'm like, but what's the quality of the work? What's the end result? What was your impact? What was your KPI? What was your metric? What did you do to change the business positively to actually drive that impact? And that's where you're going to see your growth. Then people who aren't in the room that you're not in can actually speak for you and advocate for you for those bigger opportunities, larger scope, promotions, bigger, annual merit raises and so forth there. But then when I was at Amazon, Twitch saw what I was doing and they said, "Hey, can you come do it for us?" I was like, "Absolutely." Twitch was wonderful. Unfortunately, like many companies, there was a layoff, But because of my military network, within a month, I got the job at Activision Blizzard prior to the Microsoft merger. I had 6 to 8 people in that time, the hiring manager's ear saying, hey, you should go talk to Ari. And it was through the USC program I mentioned earlier, the Masters of Business for Veterans, but also my military network. And there were people I crossed paths with at different events. So when you're going to road shows, you're going to trade shows, it's a great place to network, or industry specific events that you can connect with and you find other veterans there. It's even a stronger connection. And then it's a quick, oh, I know you do this service or product or have experience here. You need to talk to Mario because Mario's done this, this, and this. And next thing you know, Mario had a informal that turned to a formal interview with a job offer. The number one advice I would say in general is there's no loyalty, though, especially in corporate America, except to you and yourself and your family. Take every phone call. You never know where it's going to lead. It's just a phone call. It's just an interview. You can get the offer and turn it down. That's okay. But you don't know until you try. And so in the end, bet on yourself because you know your self's worth. And when you do that, you'll win 10 out of 10 times, 100%.
Yeah, and I think it really resonates me. It took me a long time to learn that lesson about network and net worth, right? Um, and for me, I think a turning point was realizing, I'm naturally an introvert. So I had a vision about what networking was, which is going to a bunch of events, meeting a bunch of people. And that's great. People that can do that, I really commend you. But that's not the only way to network. You can make, like you mentioned, take a call, make deep connections, just keep in contact with these people. So it's not about quantity, although if you do that, amazing, but just having some quality conversations, taking the call, investing the time. I just started to network what I'm comfortable in, which part of it's this podcast, having deep conversations like this is what I prefer. Um, and that have been extremely valuable. I get to meet amazing people like you, exposed to uh, communities that I'm not exposed to, but also going to events. So, yeah, your network is your net worth. The caveat being, do what works for you. If it's phone calls, cool. Coffee, events, just do it though.
Couldn't agree more. As I've gotten older, I've definitely become more of a, I would describe myself as an ambivert. I used to be that person, raise my hand, I'm going to this event, doing all these things. And as you get older, I've come a little more in my shell. But I'll mention this real quick. Like when you're on a call like we are today with a podcast and we have the visual component too, I don't like blurring my screen because I know my background can spark a conversation of likeness. And before we met, I know I saw the Luchador Mask USC. I'm a big wrestling fan, so it was a quick, hey Mario, let's talk about that, right? Yes, I'm a Angels fan in LA. I know, right? But I got the USC. I've got the Marvel stuff. It's quick, easy conversation starters that you can relate to then break the ice there. But 100% to your point is you have to do what you're comfortable with. There is no right way. And just to add on even further, when you mention those deep rooted conversations, the quality matters. Don't make the networking a transaction, it's a relationship, and it's a business professional relationship. It can get personal at times. One of my mentors I got at USC, I've graduated now 4 years ago. We still talk once a quarter. Former executive Deloitte that I'm fortunate I can call on if I need to. And I've had to. When I was laid off, she was one of my first calls, along with a few others. And so you want those trusted people that you've built that professional relationship with, because no matter what, the world is very, very small, regardless of how big it feels. And you never know when you're going to run into someone, see someone again. And if you don't feel comfortable in person, LinkedIn is a great tool. You can see who people are 1 to 2 degrees with, find out who they're connected with and so forth, and say, hey, Ari, I see you're connected with so-and-so at this company. I see a job here. Can you connect me? Or I'm interested in this industry or this type of job. Can you connect me with someone that does that similarly? Even if it's at a competitor, let's talk. For example, before I moved from AWS to Twitch, I went quick on LinkedIn. Who at Twitch went to USC? USC, as we know, we're all about our Trojan network. And, and it was a quick, oh, you went to USC, let's get on a call. And I spoke to two people that moved. One of them actually moved from Amazon to Twitch, ironically enough, too. And they quickly explained everything that I needed to know to make sure I'm making the best decision in a real rooted conversation. But it started with that USC connection. So if you're a student veteran out there, leverage your school source as well. Every school loves to do it. But even further, like we said earlier, it's that veteran to veteran or veteran to mill spouse and vice versa connection. I know there's plenty of Reddit groups, Facebook groups, Discord groups. There's multiple ways to get in contact. And that's the beauty of technology, to enable these conversations easily and safely.
And this is a great transition. I want to talk a little bit. I think we're going to have a lot of veterans listening in, given your network. Um, what's some advice that you have for veterans, early career veterans that want to break into tech and entertainment? I think you mentioned a couple of really good points. Leverage your school, leverage LinkedIn. What are some other things that have worked for you? I mean, you've given, you had an amazing number there, 150 jobs at AWS. Like, what are some things that worked for people that reached out to you?
Yeah. One is, often the individual took the risk to reach out. Takes a lot on the person, right? You have to own your career. You have to own your life. Like, yes, there are extrinsic things that are going to happen, but focus on the intrinsic. What can I control? What can I focus on? Everyone deals with some type of imposter syndrome. We've all been there. There are many resources to help you. But the first and foremost is, especially for those early career veterans, even if you have a degree or a job, look at a certification, look at ways to further learn what's happening. If you're a veteran out there, you have benefits that you have earned because you served. I've spoken to so many veterans like, oh, I don't know if I should use even the GI Bill. I'm like, you served, you gave at minimum 4 years of your life to protect our country. You've earned as a benefit of serving the GI Bill. Get your VA claims in order. That's a benefit. The organizations that we mentioned earlier that will post out, those are benefits because you serve. Those nonprofits exist to now serve you because you served our country. And you're not less of a human being by using these benefits. It's different. It's not a handout. It's because of the sacrifice that you and your family made. Second to that, when it comes to especially early in career, go explore. Now's the time to figure out. If you would have met me, Mario, when I first started my career at Disney, I thought I was going to work as a general manager of a Disney hotel. And when I first started my education journey, I thought I was going to be a forensic accountant. I enjoyed it because I was good at it, but it didn't fulfill me. It didn't fill my cup of life. My passion is helping others, being a part of the HR organization to make a true impact, because a job is going to change someone's life. And I was fortunate to have some great mentors, and all the nuggets I'm sharing today have come from people that have shared it to me and helped me. This is my way of paying it forward. I can never very often help someone that helped me, but now how can I help the next generation, the next individual? And so look at those programs that are out there for you. There are many, some even organizations do programs for just transitioning veterans. Some folks do type of apprenticeships, co-ops. You don't have to go the traditional education route. Even though I have an MBA, I don't think you need a degree for a job unless you're going to be a lawyer or a doctor or something of that nature, or an accountant, because you have to pass an exam. Beyond that, you don't need a degree. It's one way, but not the only way. And you have to figure out what fits you. Go explore the different job families. And that's a big indicator I want to focus on a little bit more here real quick, is job families and job industry. So for example, a friend of mine works in the supermarket industry, but they run HR information systems. So it's a tech job in a non-tech company. That pay is going to be a little bit different than the working as an HRIS person in a tech sector. So you have to understand the job family versus the industry. And once you really understand those a bit more, and it's just exploring, every company does it slightly different, every industry does it different. but it's a program manager versus a product manager. Or in gaming, it's a producer versus production, right? It's where am I involved? Or is it business strategy and ops? Find what you're good at and be really good at it, especially now in the job market. It's great to know many things, but within that scope, be really good at one thing. Especially when it comes to the gaming side, I want to focus a little bit there right now, is the product manager role is a newer field, just like technical program managers became big in tech, especially during COVID. Now that's what's happening in gaming is, oh, I want to be a PM, I want to be a product manager. But there's different facets to that. Do you love monetization? Focus on that. Do you enjoy the product side and making sure a game gets launched on time and setting up those cycles and the sprints and the waterfalls and making sure we're hitting our milestones and organizing your producers and your artists and your level designers and the engineers to make sure everything's rendered on time? Do you want to focus on your battle pass setup, for example? Where do you want to be? Do you want to focus on the AI tools that we can or can't use? Do you want to focus on our customer, our people, and be really good at that and be good with data? Technology is your friend. Use ChatGPT, use Copilot, use Gemini, use all the tools. There's a many resources that will show you which ones are free and not, especially in the beginning. Don't pay. Another great resource, veterans get LinkedIn Premium for free for at least 6 months, I think, to a year. That's an easy tool to help you make some connections. Take advantage of the LinkedIn learnings, right? There are resources there to help break that barrier to start. And then you're going to continue to upskill. And you have to be on this forever education journey of life, not just for your professional career, but your personal life too. The world is changing so much faster than ever before. And you have to stay abreast on that and not be naive to different things. You don't have to date age, but like I grew up during the dot-com stuff. I was born in the late 80s. And so technology is now so much faster. I remember learning about Wikipedia when it was first coming out and the
We,
AOL.coms and
we couldn't use it in our college essays, remember?
yeah, you couldn't. It was, oh, that's not a trusted source. That's not a Ray, but it's a place to start. And we learned how to use it. Exactly. And I remember using the Purdue OWL as like the number one system to look at how to source things in my paper appropriately. When we used to have to go to a library and open up a book versus now I can go on my phone and listen to an audiobook or have a book right on my phone right there to read. It's completely different. And so it's using those tools. I encourage you all to use the ChatGPT, the Copilots, the Geminis, and more to build your resume, build your cover letter. Don't use it in an interview. I'll tell you now, most companies, they'll know and you'll be automatically disqualified. And it's usually in the agreement you're signing before the interview. But use those tools as a resource and a guide. One of my good friends just shared with me, sorry for the tangent here, but he was telling me he unfortunately had some back issues and the VA, because of distance, was able to now go outpatient, right, and find his own. He put his issues on ChatGPT, said, this is my range, and found the best doctor, then changed the parameters a bit, and the same doctor came up. And now he's getting the care. And within a month, his back is, not 100% better, but it's on the right way and it's on the mend. But he used ChatGPT to find this information. Free resource.
No, that's great. I mean, and I think this is, I mean, obviously great pointed career advice for veterans, but I think in general for anybody. And one thing I think I learned thinking about all of your advice as well is you're talking about finding an industry or job that gives you that cup of, fills your cup of life. And that's so important. Um, and I think also like one of the things that I learned later on was that finding what you're good at is also fulfilling. Like when you find what you're good at, in your case, helping people, for me, I just realized entrepreneurship was my passion, regardless of the industry. Like that is fulfilling in itself. I will build a company. It doesn't matter what the industry is, just like that's what I love to do. And I think that's part of why experimentation is so important. Like find what you're good at and see how can I put this in a in a position, right? And just start somewhere.
100%. And especially for the veterans on the listening here, some of the best entrepreneurs are veterans. There's stats out there from the Small Business Association. Within the SBA, there is a whole veteran chapter to help you there too, at no additional cost. Like, there are these resources, again, go back to what we've been talking about on today's podcast, is these are resources available to help you achieve that goal. And especially entrepreneurship in America, it's one of the great places to do it. And you have that ability to have the resource, the support system to make that happen. There are venture capitals out there and money waiting because it's a veteran person starting this business. They want to invest in you just because you're a veteran, because they know you're going to think different. You're going to solve problems differently in a very positive way.
Yeah. I went to we had some interaction with the MBV program. I graduated from the Master's in Entrepreneurship program. I think we shared some teachers there. Tommy Knapp.
Tommy Knapp is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Tommy. But one of my best friends coming out of the program is a veteran. Just awesome guy. Yeah. I mean, one of the best entrepreneurs. Now he's working with veterans for a company, but just great. Believe it or not, we're almost at our time, which is we could go on talking. Appreciate so much you coming on. But before we close, we have a new section where I'm asking people about a book, podcast, Netflix show, something that you're kind of listening to, watching, that's either for fun or helping you on your leadership that you could share. And part of it's to share with the audience, and part of it's selfish. I've been getting really great book and podcast recommendations. So we'd love to hear what you're listening to or reading or watching.
Yeah. Every morning I listen to a really good podcast. Again, no affiliation. The Morning Brew. They've had a news article for a year. They've done a podcast now for a couple years, and it's a great bipartisan, no issue, just, hey, here's what happened or happening today, so to kind of get abreast of what's going on. I don't have a book yet. Maybe one day I could have that here or come back and say, hey, I am actually going to hopefully here soon be applying and pursuing a PhD even at USC. So I'm a creature of habit, and I can't say I'm going to do something without doing it. So there's an organizational and
You're putting it
strategic
out
leadership
there.
program out there. Yeah. I'm excited to focus on things like this and how to build organizational development and be able to have a dissertation to even have more study and data behind it. But for fun, one of my personal favorite podcasts right now, I got to give a shout out to, it's called the All Fantasy Everything Podcast, or AFE for short. It's with three awesome comedians, and it's a great distractor from the world. And they get to bring in all these celebrities and different things. And they just, literally, I love sports. So, and who doesn't love fantasy, like fantasy baseball and football? And the best part is drafting. So all they're doing is drafting from, it could be Taco Bell menu, singers, building an SNL cast. It's, different concerts, different actor movies, and it's all different things. And it's been a great kind of distractor from, okay, I want to escape the world for a little bit. And it's an amazing podcast as well.
Awesome. I'm gonna have to check that one out. I don't. I mean, I love sports, but I don't follow too many. I'm a big basketball and now baseball fan. My son got into it, so I got to check it out.
Yeah, definitely do. Let me know what you think. But I appreciate you, Mario, as well. This has been awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much. Awesome masterclass in mission-driven leadership, and appreciate you sharing your story and insights. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into the Mainstream Podcast, and please subscribe. Thanks to everyone listening in. To get more multicultural insights, check us out at thinknow.com and follow us on social media. You can also subscribe to this podcast on your favorite platform.